Welcome to a tier list where I will rank every single RuneScape song from Old School RuneScape. Sort of. So, first of all, there's only actually 100 songs here because the tier list website only allows you to have a maximum of 50 megabytes or 500 songs or 500 images per tier list, which means that I actually won't be able to do all of the songs in a single tier list, which is why this is part 1. I'm gonna do 100 per part, because otherwise, like, any more than that is just way too many, right? So, and Old School RuneScape has over 700 songs. Secondly, actually, I won't be reviewing any different versions or unreleased songs, social media releases, or anything basically that isn't found in the game. If it's found in the in-game player, I'm gonna review it, otherwise I'm not gonna bother, right? So technically it's not every single song. Now, I ordered the songs by ID, so they are shown in, somewhat order of release, and in, alphabetical order. So as you can see, alphabetical order, but then, towards here, the alphabetical order sort of breaks to a point. I think if it's not here, it's later on, but regardless, yeah, it's a mixture of both, for some diversity. Also, Jagex changed the way a song plays in the game, so now songs sort of have genres, like the Lumbridge genre, where, the songs that play in Lumbridge, all of them will play in that area, and you'll unlock all of them in that area. So I will actually mention the place that the songs used to play before this update, if that happens, because some of the songs still play in specific places and whatnot, and are not part of a genre. Overall, though, let's actually get into it. The tier list is pretty simple. It goes from D tier to S tier, as I don't really believe any song to be F tier, and I will also be giving the songs a ranking from 1 to 10, which will reflect the tier. So essentially 1, 2 is D tier, 3, 4 is C, 5, 6 is B, 7, 8 is A, and 9, 10 is S tier. Overall, though, these are rankings for RuneScape songs and not overall songs. I think that overall songs would be basically the lowest song would probably be like maybe a 4. So if I say that the song is a 1, that's by RuneScape standards, not by overall standards. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So let's get into it. So the first song we have here, Adventure, as the name implies, it fills you with that, adventurous spirit. Although mostly chill, it does make you a bit more animated and curious about your surroundings. It plays in Baroque, and it reflects that the player already does have some experience in their adventure, and yet it gives you that sense of you are still somewhat new and you should go on another adventure and get more experience. Overall, however, just 9 out of 10, easy S tier. Song number 2, Kharid. It's basically a Middle Eastern version of the previous track, Adventure. It transmits not only a sense of adventure, but also of unknown, an unknown you are just essentially discovering, right? It feels very exciting to discover that unknown. It's very fitting, as, Kharid is basically often seen as the start of the vast desert and, what the desert hides and what is beyond. Overall, though, a pretty strong 7 out of 10, A tier. Next track we have is Alone. This song essentially just puts you on edge, right? Sort of as if you were just about to encounter a boss fight, but not quite. Its hostility makes the song somewhat unapproachable. It doesn't want you to feel comfortable, which is to be expected given that the song plays at the Ice Mountain or in the Clock Tower. Dunjun, specifically, not the Clock Tower itself, the dungeon that you go in during the quest, which, are places where you do feel alone, given their inhospitality. Overall, it's a 6 out of 10. It's a B tier. Next up, song number 4, Ambient Jungle. So the song starts with like drums. It's a very stripped down at the beginning, as if you were, slowly stepping into a dense jungle and uncovering it bit by bit, as the song adds more instruments. Unfortunately, it never quite gets going, which is a shame. never really achieving any type of climax. It leaves a lot to be desired, basically. It has a good basis, but it definitely needed better execution. At points, it barely feels like a song and more like a solo instrument with a slow rhythm. Seriously, like just, an instrument where like random notes sort of come in at points. Over time, some of the components of the song did grow on me, but it still isn't all that good for me. Overall, though, a 5 out of 10. It's a bit tier. This next song number 5, Arabian. It's another desert-related song. This one keeps you hooked with a simple melody and pushes that melody into the background and brings instruments to play almost a solo. It's very interesting to see how the song progresses and what other instruments are going to join in or how the melody is going to change. It's an overall really fun song to listen to. It's honestly a very strong 9 out of 10 S tier. Next up we have Arabian 2. Essentially it's the same song as Arabian 1 with the exception of the tense pause in the middle. Overall it's still a super fun song to listen to, although I didn't like it as much as the first one, and obviously, it's still an Arabian song, so a lot of the credit to it comes because of the first song. Overall, 8 out of 10, A tier. Next up we have Arabian 3. Overall, it's a bit boring compared to the other two, definitely. The instruments do paint a good image of like the region that the song is in, but overall I didn't feel like everything meshed together all that well, or that the song at any point grabbed my attention and pulled me to it. Also, there's a random stop in the middle, at which point the song just sort of seems to restart. It is very jarring. Overall, it's a 3 out of 10, C tier. Song number 8, Arabique. More of a slow-paced, tense song. It actually plays at the Taverly Dunjun at El Ounds, not the desert, despite the, Arabian Arabic. You can, sort of fall under that sense. It actually, overall, is a very background type song. It fits the cave with the monster aesthetic, but it's very Final Fantasy-esque and very background type music. I guess it does its job. It's a 5 out of 10 B tier. Song number 9, Army of Darkness. It's basically a dark twist on the adventure type of song. It still feels adventurous, but with a sort of malicious tone to it, which is fitting given that the song used to play at the Dark Fortress. It's a dangerous place, not just NPC-wise, but also due to it being in the wilderness. The song makes the stakes feel much different at points. The yarn's going on, painting this urgency picture of someone that wants to explore but can't stay for long. It's overall a pretty good wilderness track, so it's a 7 out of 10, A tier. Next song, Arrival. This song feels like you are basically walking into an army place, but with a certain grandeur. This song plays when you get to like Falador, just outside of the wall, in the little forest mining section, so yeah, I guess that explains things. Overall, 6 out of 10, B tier. Also, don't worry about like me putting the songs here, like, basically they're all in order from, S tier to D tier, but not within the tiers. Within the tiers, basically they are either 9 or 10 or, 7 or 8, but I'm not concerned with putting them, in the correct spot. Next song, Attack 1. While this track unlocks at the battlefield of Khazard, it is actually a more fitting of a 1v1 boss fight with high stakes, although it does a good job of keeping itself interesting throughout. There was actually not a lot that grabbed me, at least not very strongly. It's still an entertaining song. It's a 7 out of 10, A tier. Next up, Attack 2, basically another version of the attack track. All attack tracks have sort of the same, I guess, chord progression all throughout, and they just have different takes on it. This one actually plays at the Elvark's layer whatever. And I must say, I honestly like this one much more. It gives more of a tense vibe, higher stakes, you know, desolate place, just you and the beast to slay, you know. It even comes with a climax, and honestly, the only reason why it's not a 10 is because the ending is a bit jarring, to say the least. Overall, it's a pretty good track. 9 out of 10, S tier. Attack 3. Despite being an attack track, it's not as familiar to one as the other two were. You don't feel as much similarities, and the track plays at the Lava Maze dungeon, while the other two feel much more combat heavy. This one feels more tense, as to the unfortunately of combat as opposed to welcoming it. It's much more exploration, adventure type vibes, rather than combat. Overall, it's not as good, although it did grow on me after a couple of listens. Overall, 7 out of 10, A tier. Next up we have Attack 4. This one plays during the Fight Arena boss fight. It is much more stripped down than Attack 1 and 2, however it does convey a more tense yet, you know, combat oriented type sound. It gives you this image of only one of us gets out alive, which is very fitting given that you are in an arena, so, you know. Overall though, I do feel that it's a bit too stripped down for my taste, even though I understand that it's what contributes to how tense the song is. It still does a pretty good job, and it has a pretty funky flute solo at the ending, or rather, it has a pretty good flute solo, and the ending is actually much better than most other attack songs. So overall, it's a pretty good song. 8 out of 10, A tier. Attack 5. Maybe it's because they all play in a row, but I did not notice much of a difference with this one. It's mostly just a mix of the other 4. Overall, I guess it does a decent job, and given that it plays during the KBT fight, but nothing that really grabbed me. Again though, it's a 7 out of 10, A tier, purely because it mostly relies on the other tracks, sort of like how Arabian 2 relies on Arabian. Attack 5 mostly relies on Attack, especially 1 and 2. And then lastly we have Attack 6. While the other tracks play in high-stakes situations, this one plays at the Gutanath Cave, which I guess it has dragons and ogres, but still not as high-stakes in my opinion. It sounds a bit more triumphant, as if an adventurer is doing well, or an adventurer is doing well in the journey, but it doesn't really give as many fighting vibes as the other tracks, and overall it's the weakest of the bunch in my opinion. It's still somewhat entertaining. It's a 5 out of 10 B tier. Next track, Attention. This song actually plays in Remington, and it used to play specifically at the peninsula near the church and Thurga. Overall, it's a very slow-paced song, almost mischievous or even malicious, as if something bad was going on or some evil mystery was afoot, yet to be discovered, you know. I would say, however, it doesn't really fit the area, and on top of that, it doesn't do much to captivate me. Overall, more of a background song, although a bit out of place. It seems to pass you this image of a more hostile place. The ending chords are top notch, but again, they feel very out of place for the song that it is. Overall, 4 out of 10, C tier. Song number 18, Autumn Voyage. It's somewhat of a stripped down song. It's a very laid back song. This song actually plays in Lambert, specifically where the chickens and the cows are on the way to South Baroque, to the Dark Wizards. It was my favorite song, but over the years the song sort of grew on me quite a bit. It's extremely fitting for the place, and it does give you a certain humble vibe of, you know, an adventurer that just is starting their adventures with, you know, their very little to their name and just, learning the world around them. All of the instruments that come in give another perspective to the song, which makes it feel very diverse, as if a band basically was following you around while you, fight cows and light fires and cut trees and, at different sound bites for those activities. It's definitely one of the classics for a reason. It's a very strong song. It's a very, very solid 9 out of 10 S tier. Song number 19, Background. Ironically, despite being called Background, this song actually does nothing to stay there. It is a very incredibly chill song and it captures your attention all throughout the song. It feels very dreamy while making you stop to just listen to it. While the synths fill the background, multiple instruments come throughout that not only keep it interesting but also give it that melancholy. This song being called a background is to a point misleading, honestly. This is a gem that encapsulates how melancholic yet dreamy RuneScape can be. This is honestly just, one of the best. 10 out of 10, S tier. Song number 20, Ballad of Enchantment. And to continue with the chill yet great songs, Ballad of Enchantment does just that. It enchants you, it is far more hopeful, and while at the beginning you might somewhat overlook it as soon as the first chord comes in, you feel that the song has your attention. There are beats that change the dynamic and are beats tense to a point. However, as soon as you think that the song changed, it goes back to the chords that echo throughout. However, it does have the downside of being a bit sugary, where at first you enjoy it, but it's very, very easy to get tired of it. However, still very strong performance. 9 out of 10, S tier. Song number 21, Baroque, and as the name implies, it's a sort of Baroque inspired track. Weirdly, while it plays at the Ardoin market, if I didn't know any better, I would say this actually plays in Lambridge or like Varrock in like a fancier part of town. It has the same chill yet adventurous vibe that a lot of the songs around that area actually offer. Overall, it's a extremely strong song. 9 out of 10, S tier, easily. Song number 22, Beyond. I enjoy the faster percussion on this song. It really shows that there aren't really a lot of limits to what a RuneScape song can actually be. It does, however, take a little while to get going and develop, but once it does, it gets even better than the beginning. The song actually watches you with this sense of adventure, and while the ending is a different vibe than the beginning, it was something I totally did not expect. It does a very good job of being exciting, and if you are taking part in what, in that sort of promised adventure, that it makes you feel like the end basically makes you feel like the adventure that you felt at the beginning. So it is very, very good at connecting the end of the song to the beginning of the song. Overall, it's probably one of the most underrated songs, I would say, of this list. 8 out of 10, A tier, very, very strong song. Often overlooked. Song number 23, Big Chords. It's a very relaxed, laid-back song, as if the game is asking you to sort of take a break from adventuring and to just, sit there and relax for a bit. It's an overall very uplifting song, and the ending chords make the song sound very magical. In terms of mood songs, it just doesn't get better than this. If you hear this song, you say mood. That's pretty much it. 10 out of 10, S tier. There we go. Song number 24, Book of Spells. Speaking of magical songs, it is called Book of Spells, and yes, it has a very magical feel to it. I also enjoy how many parts the song actually has. It somehow manages to show us multiple different things throughout the song without losing its magical appeal. It's a joy to see how the song evolves from moment to moment. The only thing I don't get is, why is it being played in the Lambridge Swamp? At least he used to. Now he plays just in Lambridge and it unlocks all Lambridge songs, but he used to play at the Lambridge Swamp, and honestly, I feel that place doesn't really fit the song too well. However, I am judging how well a song fits the game and its places, not how well a place fits a song. So, you know, since the song is pretty fitting to Lumbridge and it's a fucking banger, 10 out of 10, S tier. Song number 25, Camelot. It might be called Camelot, but this is the most like medieval song I've heard so far. Legit, just imagine yourself in a castle while having a requinted banquet. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's this song. Overall, though, it's a pretty good song. 8 out of 10, A tier. Cave background. The actual stripped down nature of the song makes it feel very Eden almost. Definitely not a nice place to be. There is a silence in the middle of the song before the song becomes grander, but I think that the silence is a bit too long. Somewhat, you know, ruining not only the vibe of the song, but also the build-up that the song had up until that point. While a good song, I feel that it doesn't really offer enough variety for me to, you know, keep hooked to it. I would have preferred the song to not deviate much from the original progression rather than deviating, but then making it feel like it really didn't pay off, or that to a degree we have a song and their sequel here with a break in between. Overall, 6 out of 10, B tier. Next song, Cavern. It uses some of the same instruments that Cave Background does, although not as well. It is also pretty stripped down, and while it fits the area it's in, never really grabbed me my attention, but it also never really bothered me. It's a very meh song, I would say. 4 out of 10, C tier. Next up we have Chain of Command, another stripped down song and another cave song. This one plays at the Temple of Ikov, and overall it does have a nice melody at points, but nothing that makes it stand out for me. It's a 5 out of 10, B tier. Song number 29, A Crystal Cave. It's a very ethereal track, with a more relaxed approach. It plays in scenarios, does the, you know, ethereal vibe. However, it also makes you feel at home, as if you just went on a long journey and finally arrived, and you're here now. So you can just relax and enjoy, you know, sit down and just listen. It's a very endearing track, and I thoroughly enjoy it far more than I thought I would. It's a very, very solid 9 out of 10, S tier. And to go from Crystal Cave, we go to Crystal Sword, the beginning of basically a dangerous journey. The song slowly builds on a pretty simple chord progression, slowly adding more and more instruments while keeping both the original somewhat dangerous appeal while also adding some loneliness to it, as if you just can't trust anyone. It sounds definitely like one of the most experimental early Old School Runescape songs alongside Beyond. Overall though, 7 out of 10, A tier. Number 31, Dangerous. I would say this song isn't very dangerous. It's your average Wildy song, relying mostly on percussion to put the tension you find in the Wildy. Honestly, so far it's the most boring song I have encountered. It's a 2 out of 10, D tier. Song number 32, Dark. Well, going from Wilderness Song to Wilderness Song, it has the same vibe as Army of Darkness. However, here, everything just seems to fit way more, and it seems like it's more well connected. And the song never really stops in one place while still maintaining the same vibe all throughout. It's a very, very good song. It's a 9 out of 10, S tier. Well, how about another Wildy song? Number 33, Deep Wildy. A tense yet very catchy song. It does a perfect job of conveying the dangerous yet exciting feeling of being in such a zone. Everything comes together to deliver the best experience, and why this song is associated with the Wildy, not just in name alone. It's a solid 9 out of 10, S tier, almost 10 out of 10 I would say. Number 34, Desert Voyage. This song plays in the desert, but could very well fit in a jungle setting. It has a slow pacing, it has few instruments, it does a decent job of being background music, but overall it did not grab my attention whatsoever, although the song isn't really bad either. But the fact that I can distinguish if it's a desert song or a jungle song, I think it just goes to show that there wasn't a lot of development done to it. Overall, 4 out of 10, C tier. Song number 35, Doorways. It starts very dreamy and hopeful. It does then go into a more slower and somewhat sad section, which is an overall downgrade in my opinion. However, it then uses that section and transforms it into a better version of the intro before going back to what the intro was to finish the song. It's a good song, and its more slower pace indicates a more countryside existence almost. This song actually grew on me quite a bit, especially due to how it transforms the middle of the track to the third section of the track. Overall, 8 out of 10, A tier. Next up we have Dream, not the YouTuber, the song, and as the name implies, it feels very dreamy. You can just sit there and relax, recall the simpler times when, you know, the hardest thing in the game was to get wheat to make bread and slay some goblins. It's super fitting for Lumbridge, and given that it allows you to not just dream with how nostalgic the past can be, but also how hopeful the future looks and your journey in it. It's honestly, again, one of the best songs, and I feel that all Lumbridge songs are really good, but this one is a 10 out of 10, S tier. Next song is Dunjun, which is, I guess, like a fancy spelling dungeon name, given that it does play at the Taverly Dungeon. It's a very, like, minimalistic tracks overall don't have to be bad, but so far they haven't really been the best either. I really can't discern what the song is really going for other than a more isolated and somewhat hostile feeling, but I can't quite understand what it's supposed to be. It plays in the Taverly Dungeon, which, you know, kind of explains the moody vibe, but, like, again, still, I feel like it feels like a nothing song to me, to a point, right? It is inconsistent to a point, and makes it really hard for me to grab onto anything. You know, there's no chords or no melodies or like anything that I feel like I can grab onto. It's a song that feels that it exists to fill the background noise, so it's not silence, rather than a song that should be there and belongs there. This is by far the worst song that I've heard so far in this entire tier list. It's a 1 out of 10 D tier. Egypt. Now, Egypt is a, like, look, let me just say, I didn't expect much from this track, but then the track is like a flute that is just amazing. It just completely dictates the vibe of the rest of the track, and not only is it pretty fitting for a desert setting, it also gives you the vibe of a fun adventure through, you know, not really knowing what you can expect, but being so excited for it anyway. It's a really, like, just fun track to listen to. It's way more fun than I thought it would be. This track is a solid 9 out of 10 S tier. Track number 39, Emotion. It starts a very dreamy yet somewhat tense song to a point, with the fast piano notes. It never really loses that magical or dreamy feeling, but it does get way more medieval as soon as the song progresses. With such introduction, however, it was pretty hard for the song to go wrong and make me dislike it, so obviously 9 out of 10, S tier. Song number 40, Expanse. This song basically just offers the same vibe as Dream. However, it's way more laid back, and the build-up does take longer, but it's also way more satisfying, and honestly, this song is the most satisfying build-up out of any track up until this point. This is just a straight-up 10 out of 10 S tier. Hello? Can you... There we go. Yeah, okay. It wasn't fucking letting go. Song number 41, Expecting. In 40 seconds, this song actually changes more than some other songs doing their entirety. Although I never really got hooked in any of the parts, it was pretty interesting to see what the song would throw at me next. The slow start with a more menacing tension indicating fighting, to then the more magical feel with some of the strings, makes the overall experience a bit confusing, but a bit rewarding nonetheless. Overall, it was a pretty interesting experience. 6 out of 10, B tier. Song number 42, Faerie. It's a very ethereal slash magical track. It plays on the other side of Zenaris, and this war is more on the side of being moody, as if you just came across a world you don't quite understand, feel lost as a result. From all the slower tracks I've heard, this is probably one of those that actually keeps me hooked. It's a very strong 7 out of 10, A tier. Song number 43, Fanfare. Now, this is probably gonna be a bit of a unpopular opinion, but the percussion alongside the horns make it feel more of a, militaristic track, which would track, given that, it plays in the Falador Castle, where the White Knights are. While the song is catchy, I get tired of it pretty fast, since the track can easily go from enjoyable to really annoying due to how obnoxious the sounds of it can be, especially with the horn and percussion. Overall, it's a 6 out of 10 B tier. Track number 44, Fanfare 2. While it is called Fanfare 2, and while it does have similar percussion, it also has far more of a sea shanty vibe, way more animated than Fan, which, these types of tracks can actually benefit from. I would say it's more enjoyable than Fanfare, albeit it's not as memorable. Overall, though, it's a 7 out of 10, A tier. And lastly, we have Fanfare 3. It's the same length as Fanfare 1 and 2 combined, pretty much. It's not as good or catchy as the other two. Playing in Port Khazard, I get what they were going for, but it simply doesn't have the same catchiness, fun, or it just isn't as memorable. I appreciate the effort of trying to make a Fanfare song in a more, militaristic port, but it simply doesn't quite work. It's a 4 out of 10, C tier. Song number 46, Fishing. I mean, it's called fishing. It has wave sounds within the song. Do I need to say more? Okay, fine, I'll say more. It has a slow piano melody that is complemented by other instruments as the song progresses. It's very chill and, combines well with being ashore, just fishing, because that's what the song is for. Just look at its name. It's a pretty good song, although the waves are a bit loud in my opinion, and obviously it plays in Cathari, because of course it does. Overall, though, it's an 8 out of 10, strong 8 out of 10, A tier. Song number 47, Flute Salad. It's a salad made out of flutes, basically. Not quite, as not every instrument is a flute. In fact, most don't seem to be flutes, although they sound like ones. However, it's a very fun song to listen to. It puts you in the mood to just dance and vibe, and it plays in Lambright, so it has more of a moody, or newbie medieval vibe to it. Overall, this song was actually one of the first songs that I started listening outside of the game, and it's an S tier. It's a 10 out of 10 S tier. Oh man, the tier list is getting a bit big, and there's still a couple of songs to go, but yeah, we're almost midway through, so let's go to number 48, Forever. It's somewhat of a dreamy song. It gives you a sense of a place that you shouldn't really exactly be in, that is very friendly, but also not entirely hostile. It's a very interesting track, and it's nice to see how it progresses. It does have a bit of a sense of worry, but overall very captivating. Only reason why it's not a 10 is that I feel that the ending somewhat doesn't fit the beginning of the song and the build-up that it had. The ending is amazing, don't get me wrong, but maybe not for this song. However, it's still a 9 out of 10 S tier. Next track, number 49, Gaol. Slow-paced track with a focus on percussion. It's a wildy track, though it also plays in the caves of Gutanath. Overall, though, it's just not as interesting for me. It's kind of generic to a point. It's a 2 out of 10 D tier. And finally, we have arrived to the midway point. Song number 50, Garden. It's a dreamy yet medieval track. I love it how it builds up slowly, giving you this feeling of, slow discovery, as if you are becoming more familiar with your surroundings and they become your own. It's a pretty good track. It has really catchy melodies. It's a 10 out of 10, like, come on, it's a 10 out of 10 S tier, easy like that. Next up, we have Gnome King. Despite not having the background synths like many other songs have, it still manages to feel full. Plenty of instruments come around throughout the song, and the background melody feels playful with the tone of being mischievous. I actually like this song more than I thought I would, since it's one of those unconventional songs that I've heard since the beginning up until this time, but it was a very nice surprise and a very nice change of pace. It's a 7 out of 10, A tier. Next up, the Dwarf Theme. It's a very fun theme for the dwarves. It's playful, it's busy with a shade of artwork. It illustrates the dwarves pretty well, I would say. As a song, it's a solid 7 out of 10, A tier. Number 53, Gnome Village. This song actually plays in the Gnome Stronghold, not the Gnome Village. It is a very playful song as well. It seems short creatures in Gielinor tend to have a more playful theme to them, which tends to be pretty fun to listen to. This song actually has a dash of lumbridgeness to it. I feel it could be played in that area and many people wouldn't notice it, as it not belonging there. The melody of it is pretty iconic due to how catchy it ends up being. Overall, it's pretty good times, I would say. It's an 8 out of 10, A tier. Song number 54, Gnome Village 2, which also plays in the Stronghold of Security. What happens when you take a pretty iconic melody and add more shit to it? Well, I don't know, but in this case you actually get a pretty fun song that is just as good as the original, but also contains moments of fullness, where it feels the song its full stride, as if the gnomes aren't hiding anymore, they're not distrusting of you anymore. The melody played during the chorus, I guess you could call it, is better than the original in my opinion. The place of the melody in the song is better than the original. Not many times is a remixed version of a song better than the original, but in this case, it is. Strong 9 out of 10 S tier. Next up, to keep the village theme, Goblin Village. Guess where the song plays? Yeah, so it's a very playful song as well, although this one seems to be closer to the Pink Panther theme song than anything found in RuneScape. It seems like someone grabbed the sound font of the game and sort of just made the Pink Panther opening. Maybe I misheard it, but it's what it sounded to me. It's a 7 out of 10, A tier. Next up, Gnomeball, and look, let's be honest, this is not your average RuneScape song. This is Gnomeball, the best sport in the world. Seriously though, it's a very fun song. I find the break where the whistles go crazy a bit jarring, but overall the song fits the game of Gnomeball pretty well. It does feel like you are ready to just punch some noobs, but in a good way, not in a PKer way, you feel me? Yeah, honestly, a good change of pace towards the game, and compared to a lot of other songs, it's a strong 8 out of 10, A tier. 57, Greatness. It's another dreamy song. I also really like how this song pulls you in instantly with its just grandiose, dreamy opening, and then slowly builds itself up to be a more sort of adventurous medieval track. I also quite enjoy the breaks in the song. It ends up being a far more grounded noob adventure song than dreamy, but I think the transition works extremely well. The song goes from dreamy to adventurous, but remains, hopeful, uplifting. In the end, both sides come together to close out the song in this just beautiful, dreamy adventure that pretty much is just that. Overall, 10 out of 10 S tier. Next song, 58, Harmony. Noob adventurer vibes, just, starting in the world, slowly finding their footing. The more somber beginning represents how scary everything is when you just, arrive into this massive world without knowing much about it or feeling prepared to face it. The flute that comes in after the intro represents the excitement you have, slowly making your way out of Lumbridge Castle and figuring out Lumbridge and what it has to offer. I don't think there's any other song that screams Nubian Lumbridge more than this one. Despite its somber moments, it remains a pretty hopeful and exciting song. And again, just as with many other Lumbridge songs, 10 out of 10, S tier. Man, I have so many S tier songs, I'm really wondering what I'm gonna do as soon as the Lumbridge songs are all done. Song number 59, I See. So, it's basically Autumn Voyage, but sea-related. I know that most of the chord progressions are actually pretty sea-related, but that was the vibe that came to me anyway. Regardless, it's a pretty good song, and it has no right of being this catchy, I'm gonna be honest. It actually grew plenty on me, going from a pretty generic song to a pretty memorable one. It's an 8 out of 10, A tier. Next song, 60, Horizon. This song might be on my top 5 favorite songs of Old School Runescape. It's just the intro melody from the piano to the slow build-up, going from a nostalgic, feeling to a present feeling of what adventures and memories we can still make. Like, this song is just amazing. It fits the Towerly Gate so well. You go from free to play to pay to play, where you feel like your world is just expanded. You are leaving a journey behind to start another. It's a pretty chill and nostalgic song, and yet it feels super hopeful for what the future can actually bring. As I mentioned, this is honestly amongst my favorite. I would say this is probably like my second favorite song in all of RuneScape. So obviously, 10 out of 10 S tier. Next up, we have Iban. The percussion background actually, carried with ever so often strings, making you feel like uneasy. For the place and the boss that it is, I think the stripped down version alongside, with the melodies of the instruments actually fits this boss quite well. There is a random stop towards the end of the song where the song main melody just repeats again, which caught me off guard, and it's a bit jarring, and I think it detracts from the song, but it's a 7 out of 10, A tier. Next song, In the Manor. So this song is kind of weird because it doesn't actually play in the Manor, it plays south of Yanil, and east of Gutenelth, in like that little area with the trees and the island. The song is just weird. Like, in a way I enjoy how different it is from the rest of the songs, but it's hard to place and pinpoint what the song is supposed to be or do. It is definitely an interesting experiment, but not every experiment can be a winner, and therefore this song is a 5 out of 10 B tier. Next song, Inspiration. The song slowly starts with this piano melody, then introducing a flute and strings until it finally, fully comes in. It is a very bittersweet song, I would say. Not really knowing if it's going for a more, happy or sad approach. I like some of the melodies played in it, however, I didn't feel like the pacing of the song was all that great. It was too slow in my opinion and sort of repetitive in certain sections for my liking, and felt like it took too long to get to the good parts, I guess. It's a very slow song. It's a 5 out of 10 B tier. Song number 64, Intrepid. Look, it looks like deja vu. You know, it's like, oh, did I hear this song before? Yeah, it's essentially a remix of a part of the song of Dark, the other song that we put here. Yeah, this song. Essentially, like, it only has, I think it's the 3rd and 4th section from that song, and I mean, it's still good, I guess, but it's nothing like amazingly original, I guess. I mean, it's good because the song Dark is good, not because the song is good on itself or there's anything new, but I guess as a result it's also not a bad song. It's 7 out of 10, 8 tier. Next up, Jolly R. While the accordion of this song makes it feel like a C song, honestly, put it on Port Phasmatics, and it works just as fine as a spooky C song. Overall, though, nothing super captivating and a bit generic. I mean, they can all be winners, right? So, yeah, 5 out of 10 B tier. Next up, we have number 66, Jungle Island. It takes a while to get going, but once it does, I feel the song comes together more nicely. The bass is somewhat hidden in the background, but I feel it gives the song that weight it actually needs. The first minute I wasn't very highly on the song, and to be honest, I feel that, you know, that minute-long introduction wasn't really needed for the song, and I think that overall it just brings it down. So it's 6 out of 10, B tier. Next up, Jungly 1. It has a nice bass and it does, I guess, a good job of setting a jungly mood. Nothing crazy or melodies that ended up being memorable for me. It's just an overall 5 out of 10, B tier. Next up, Jungly 2. And honestly, I did not expect to have Daft Punk be featured in a RuneScape song, but I guess here we are. Seriously though, this song is just great. Not only does it still maintain a certain, you know, great jungly vibes, it's also very funky, and I was super surprised due to how much I actually ended up enjoying it. The melody is catchy, and the instrument just fits so well together. The beginning is absolute killer, and it's such a fun song to listen to. Usually with songs sharing the same name, the sequels tend to be a bit worse off, but this one, nope, just 100% surprised, 100% will be listening to it again. And let me just say, upon subsequent listenings, the break from the main flute into the chorus feels so unbelievably good. It's genuinely, probably I would say this is the biggest surprise out of this entire list. I did not know that this song existed, and this song was just an absolute gem when I discovered it. It's a 10 out of 10 S tier, like, it's just so good. Song number 69, Jungly 3, a funky song with a great bass. However, obviously, like, let's be honest, it wasn't gonna top that last one. I would say it though, it is better than Jungly 1 in my opinion, and it does commit more to the jungle sound aesthetic. While the song is pretty short and doesn't offer anything super amazing, it is a pretty funky and enjoyable song. It's a 7 out of 10, A tier. And finally, we're into the last third of the songs, and the tier list is looking pretty big. See why I didn't want to make more than like 100 fucking songs per tier list. It already looks so big, so yeah. We do have a couple of S tiers, because obviously most of the songs are from, you know, the beginning of the game, so a bit biased. But yes, next up we have Nightly, another Fanfare style track. This one actually plays at the Ardoin Castle, and it involves the knights as well, obviously the Ardy knights. I was gonna say maybe this is a personal thing, but the entire list is personal, so yeah, look, I do somewhat enjoy the beginning and the ending, however I just don't particularly seem to enjoy these more, you know, militaristic type tracks. Overall, it's a bit less annoying than Fanfare, but I also find it less memorable, and it's still not all that great. It's a 5 out of 10, you know, B tier. Next up we have Lasting. So this song, the beginning melody sets like this nostalgic newbie mood just perfectly. This one does actually not play in Lumbridge, it plays in Ammonster, you know, next to the Fishing Guild and the Ranging Guild. The way it grows on itself, adding more stuff as it goes, but never losing that chill vibe it's pretty good. The songs seem to actually run away from the more somber tone in the middle until the somber section I feel these sections somewhat take away from the song, however I don't think they are bad. The second part of the song is still pretty good, all things considered, so it's an overall 8 out of 10, A tier. Next up we have Legion. So aside from the French horn in this song, it feels that other songs have done what this song was going for, just better. I tried to like it, but really there isn't much there I can hang on to. Overall it's a very mass song, still not bad, but definitely one of my least favorites. I would say it's not less favorite than Dunjun, but you know, it's down there with it. Song number 73, Lightness. The overall song isn't anything amazing, but the main melody of the song is really catchy, and it does get stuck in your head pretty easily. It's a pretty fun track, all things considered, and I think that the main melody pretty much carries it. It's a 7 out of 10, A tier. Next up we have Lightwalk. This song has a lot of ideas, however I feel that none of them are developed or glued to the song. Most of the song just goes from one idea to the next, to the next, to the next, without much of a transition, which makes it feel jarring for a lot of the song, while also being pretty forgettable for the most part. It's a 1 out of 10, D tier. I wouldn't say that it's as bad as Legion or Dungeon, but it's still not that great. Next track, Long Ago. Aside from using the same wave sound from the fishing song, which is still a bit loud by the way, the overall song is actually very relaxing. It's almost like you are hearing the intro to some, you know, slice of life show. I wasn't vibing too much with it at the beginning, but after some listens, I can see the appeal of the song. The end does feel a bit too sudden for the type of song that it is, but overall it's a pretty good song. 7 out of 10, A tier. Next song, Long Way Home, a melancholic tune played in Remington. It does make you feel like you miss your first, you know, adventure days in Lumbridge. This song captures that vibe very well. It has a very lonesome vibe to it, where, you know, the end ties it all back to this, you know, mood that the song is going for. Like, it just knocks that vibe out of the park pretty much. Overall it's not my favorite song to listen to, but especially due to how somber it is, but I think it is a really great song nonetheless. It's a 8 out of 10, A tier. Next up we have Lullaby. It's a pretty pleasant song to listen to, however it doesn't do much to stand out from the rest, and it did not grab me as much as other tracks did. It's a decent track, but that's pretty much it. It's a 6 out of 10, B tier. Next up, the Mage Arena. This track follows the same example as many other Wildy tracks, with short string bursts and, you know, slow percussion to like increase the tension. However, the song then changes to a more sneaky vibe, I guess, and then it brings it up again to the main melody. I must say the melody of the song actually grew on me. The song actually feels like it has more going on than most other Wildy songs. I also do appreciate all of the different sections and instruments that came and went in the song. So overall, that's a pretty decent track, 7 out of 10, A tier. Song number 79, Magic Dance. It's a pretty peaceful song. I enjoy how it progresses and how it transitions from the main melody to the rest of the song. Here yet again you have the situation of a break in the middle of the main melody to break sort of the monotony of the song, and yet again it's a more somber break and always using a more, I guess, bassy instruments. I feel that this break makes the song feel far more somber than what it actually supposed to be. Either way, it's a pretty solid track overall with a very catchy melody, so it's a solid 8 out of 10, 8 tier. Next song, Magical Journey. A very magical song. The quick chords actually make the overall song more relaxing when faced, or I guess, opposed with the more slower paced synth and choir. The middle section feels more medieval with the lower, paced flute. The song then goes into sort of a lower tempo with mostly percussion, a main synth with the main melody of the song, and the occasional bass. Yet again makes the song feel a bit more somber than what it should be, but it's still an overall good song when everything is considered. It's a 7 out of 10, 8 tier. '81 March, another militaristic type song as the name implies. This one definitely feels far more somber, while the other two felt far more triumphant. I like this one more than the other two, however, I still don't enjoy the melody all that much, so it's a honestly weak 7 out of 10, 8 tier. Next track, Medieval, a very chill song played outside of Baroque. It makes you feel like an explorer just going around the exterior of the big city in search of, a skill to train. The track's slower tempo actually play in its favor, making the entire song feel somewhat uplifting despite at first seeming somewhat sad or somber. The song is constantly walking on that edge and is what makes the song memorable in my opinion. The section with the harp just ties the entire experience together. The constant background melody of whatever instrument I don't recognize also makes the entire song actually feel like a sort of an acoustic song with the strumming like of acoustic guitar strings, if that makes sense. Just like a strumming sort of thing. Overall it just makes everything feel more country side. Overall 9 out of 10, S tier. Wait, why was Medieval down there? What the fuck? Okay, it's up there. What the hell? Anyway. Number 83, Mellow. And this song is very, mellow. Yeah, congratulations if you guessed it. The initial melody just hooks you in and never lets go. The song never really evolves to anything grander, but I also feel it doesn't really need to. The little tweaks here and there that play throughout the song from different instruments entering the background to the melody, suffering a slight change. Overall, it feels like the melody is the constant while stuff happens around it, contrary to other songs. Which would be accurate given that the song plays at the fishing guild, not fishing. When you are doing this type of gathering skills, it's normal for you that the world tends to sort of feel like it happens around you while you lose yourself on your own grind and not really realizing what's going on. It's one of the most pleasant songs to hear, definitely. It's a 10 out of 10, S tier. Next song, Miles Away, and as the song says, you are miles away from Lambridge. I mean, sort of. The song actually plays like south of Falador in the crafting guild and the peninsula next to it, so you're not that far away. However, given the area that it is, it doesn't make you feel like you are miles away from everything. Being so close to Falador, and yet it feels like a tiny, relaxing, secluded place you can just chill and do your crafting or your getting. It's a very relaxing song, very akin to Mellow in the way you have a main melody that hooks you right in. However, the song here doesn't actually happen around the main melody. Regardless, the way the main melody changes is always great and maintains this relaxing yet secluded tone while being uplifting. The ending is very mellow actually, yet it's feeding to the song, leaving you with, wanting more of it. It's a 10 out of 10 S tier. Miracle Dance. The slow start lures you into this false sense of security. The song is actually quite funky. It has both these feelings mixed and makes you feel both relaxed and stimulated throughout the song. Come to find out, this plays at the mind altar, so it makes sense that the more funky parts feel like, thinking, while the more chill ones feel like, what you feel when you are relaxed. I ended up actually quite enjoying the melodies for this one. There's just something about them I can't quite put my finger on, but I appreciate the song quite a lot more than what I used to. It's a 9 out of 10, S tier. Next up we have Monarch Waltz. This sounds like the song Medieval, but a bit more uplifting. It doesn't work as well as Medieval, however. Honestly, it's an overall downgrade in every single aspect. It's a 4 out of 10 C tier. Next up we have Moody. If anything, Jagex is really great at naming songs, because this song is, well, very moody. I do enjoy it more than other Wildy songs, purely because the melody, feels better, and the overall track, while a slow tempo to describe how, I guess, loneliness and dangerous the Wildy can be, still feels pretty cohesive and nice to listen to. A pretty decent song overall. It's a 7 out of 10 A tier. Next up we have Neverland. It's a very relaxing chill song. The main melody gets you hooked right away, and while the song is relaxing, it does make you feel like it's building to something more, something more exciting, more triumphant even. And then it goes into this lullaby. You know the deal by now. The middle of the song, things tone down before the main melody kicks back in. I don't think the break is that bad, but it does introduce you to a more somber part of the song that takes away from the relaxed, magical vibe the song gives, especially at the end, after the somber part. Overall, it's a pretty positive. I'm pretty positively impressed by the song. I would say it's an 8 out of 10, A tier. And next up we have Newbie Melody. So when I said the Horizon was my second favorite song, this is because this is probably my favorite song. This is the first song that you actually listen to in the game itself, not Escape main, but when you actually log in. This song plays right as you spawn in Tutorial Island. It perfectly encapsulates an entire mini-adventure, the one you go on in Tutorial Island. The beginning not only makes you feel like a noob, but its slow build-up plays into both the nervousness of entering an unknown vast world, but also the excitement that comes with it. The song then goes into a more fun part before slowing down again, before returning to the original melody. It's an amazing song that just shows what it's like to be in RuneScape. It has nostalgia, it has melancholy, it has happiness, excitement, and the best part is that at the end, the song just ties everything together by letting the synth play and letting the silence gain space between the synth notes before playing the next synth note, which just gives you this feeling of finishing an adventure, and in this case your first one, and yet while it is an ending, it also spells the beginning of so many more adventures to come. This song is probably the most perfect RuneScape song that we have in the game right now. It's just a 10 out of 10. It's the strongest experience when it comes to RuneScape music you could ever ask for. Next up, Nightfall, and we're down to our last 11 songs. It essentially follows the same pattern of a more melancholic song like Long Way Home. It is still very catchy and it plays into the melancholic mood perfectly. It does, however, walk the line of somewhat somber but somewhat uplifting, as if you just found something big and the surprise still leaves you not knowing very well how to feel about it all. It's a pretty strong song, 8 out of 10, A tier. And we're down to 10. So let's get this 10 out of the way. 91 Oriental. Good luck deciphering if this song is in the desert or jungle. It's just a tiny bit generic and doesn't really do much for me. It just feels like another RuneScape song to fill space, which weirdly enough, those aren't as common as we might have thought. I do find some of the melodies nice, but not enough to win me over or make me want to revisit the song. It does play in the Shallow Village quest temple, so it is pretty forgotten altogether. Overall, it's a, I guess, 5 out of 10 B tier. Next up, Overture. Another dreamy song with a higher tempo. The French horn doesn't make it feel somewhat like another march or fanfare, however the flute brings a complete different dynamic, and the fact that the percussion is far more on the background as opposed to being the focal piece of the song makes it way more enjoyable for me. Overall, 8 out of 10, A tier. Next up, Parade. For a parade, it does sound pretty somber. The melody is pretty catchy and the song is actually pretty short. It makes me feel very bittersweet. On one end, the melody is great, but overall, the vibe of the song just doesn't get, they just don't gel well overall. I guess you can say it doesn't overstay its welcome as a positive, but yeah, it's just a pretty weak 7 out of 10 A tier. Next up we have Quest, which actually plays inside the fire altar, despite, being called Quest. It is a very chill song and even transitions into a slower tempo midway through. It is kind of bizarre to have a song called this be this chill and relaxing at the fire altar, surrounded by fire and like death, trees and lava and stuff. However, environment aside, I actually did quite enjoy this song way more than I thought I would. Honestly, this just really goes to show that this game is actually just straight up full of gems. It's a 9 out of 10 S tier. Next up we have a Regal, or Regal? I don't know. I don't know if I actually heard this song before or if simply Wildy songs are starting to mix together in my head, but regardless, the song yet again uses French horn and percussion. However, it's far more bittersweet in the initial melody, first being moody and then changing to hopeful and right back to moody. Then it goes into this sort of break and is more stripped down where you actually sort of feel more comfortable with the song. This one plays at the Rogue's Castle, so I guess the French horn is, and like the melody is to like illustrate a certain class to a point. It's not a bad song, but the bittersweet French horn melody will 100% get on my nerves the more I listen to it, I feel like. Overall, it's a 6 out of 10. It's a B tier. Number 96, Reggae. Guess the style of the song. If you guessed reggae, you'd be 100% correct. Honestly, if it's a genre you like, this song isn't all that bad. It is at points a bit generic, but it's a fine song. Overall for me it doesn't do much, and it might fall a bit too close to the stereotypical reggae songs. It's still enjoyable. It's a 7 out of 10. It's a good background song, I would say. Next up we have Reggae 2, and you're not gonna believe this. Yeah, it's another reggae song. Surprise! Anyhow, this one is actually a slower tempo and it's a bit more chill than the first one. Again, it's passable, it's enjoyable, it's a good song to just chill with the background on. It's a 7 out of 10 A tier. Next up we have Riverside. It's a very chill song. It's like, it reminds me of like a chill summer afternoon, type song. It actually plays west of the terrace camp and the swamp. After the first section of the flute melody, it goes into this bassy part that is so good, makes you even more relaxed than before. And when the flute melody returns, it's just as good as it was before. Incredibly ambient song, and it's just another gem found amidst everything. It's a 9 out of 10 S tier. And then there were two. Royale. This song plays in the Towerly dungeon, where the Black Knights are. The beginning sounds like the Power Rangers are being introduced, sort of. I already showed my distaste for, this type of tracks involving knights and stuff. This one actually isn't as big of an offender, that, the type which was super surprising. Again, the track feels more like you are watching an action movie and are seeing the villain on screen, just fuck shit up with a fan side to it. Actually enjoy this song way more I thought I would. It's an 8 out of 10, 8 tier. And lastly, down to one, track number 100, Rune Essence. It's a very relaxing, ethereal song. I don't know if, again, I've heard this song before, or if it's another song with the same melody and bass line as, the first part of the song, but it is a pretty great song nonetheless. The second part of the song going into this more exciting, faster tempo, strings, before the magic sort of wears off and goes back to the main melody and bass line. It's a pretty neat song. It's a classic as well. It's a 9 out of 10 S tier. And with that, we have our entire tier list done. Way more S tier songs than I thought there were going to be. I think that, A tier songs is what we have the most of. We have essentially 5 rows with 8 tracks each. Here we have 4, and then with B we only have 3. One of them only has 2 songs. Yeah, then, D, C, B, not a lot of tracks. S and A tier, just absolute bunch of tracks. Obviously, again, they're not by order, like, out of all of these, obviously Newbie Melody would be here, would be my favorite type thing. Horizon would, but regardless, so, but I don't care about organizing it like that, especially because by the end of all of this, once I do all of the parts to rate all of the songs, I'll make a top 100 favorite songs to show you, so I can actually organize all of the S tiers and stuff like that. Way easier. But yes, that is my tier list. I'm gonna leave the link in the description for you to be able to do your own if you want. But yeah, obviously I doubt that parts in the future will have as many S tiers and A tier songs, because a lot of these are just straight up a lot of the classics, the newbie melodies, adventures, so stuff that plays usually Lumbridge, Baroque, Falador, and everything in between. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And I don't know when the next part is gonna come out, but I would probably think anywhere in maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3. And yeah, it will include the songs with the ID from 101 to 200, since this is from ID 1 to 100. But yeah, that's my tier list, and see you in the next video.